Hi everyone. Today's lesson is a review for our exit ticket number 7. So let's get started. First question is about finding the length of a diagonal of a rectangle that has sides 12 and 4. So if this is 12 and this is 4, and we want to find the length of a rectangle, the diagonal, then we just are going to use the Pythagorean theorem because we're looking for this value here. So I would say d squared, which is my hypotenuse, this being a right angle because it is a rectangle, that is equal to this length squared, leg squared, plus this other leg squared. So my hypotenuse squared is equal to 144 plus 16. And so all you have to do, you're going to use your calculator. So 144 plus 16 gives us 160. So d squared is equal to the square root of 160. Now, if I'm asking you for an exact value, what you need to do for this is that you need to break it down and keep it in roots. So this was the square root of both sides, meaning this is going to be the square root of 16 times the square root of 10. Square root of 16 is 4, so that diagonal is going to be 4 and then root 10 because the square root of 16 is 4. And so this right here would be my solution. Solutions go in solution sets. But if they asked me for an approximation, I would take the square root of, I would go square root of 160, and I get about 12.649, so about 12.65. So that would be about 12.65. And so it just really depends what they're asking. Are they asking me for an exact value, which would be this value, so exact value, or are they asking me for a decimal approximation? And so that's what you're looking for. For this problem, it says, what is BA? So BA is here, equal in this equilateral triangle if the altitude is 6. Now, what you need to remember is equilateral triangles all have an angle base of 60 degrees. So we have 60, and then we also have 30 degrees up here, okay? So a couple of things. We just want this opposite side. So one option is to work backwards and to say, well, I know this is equilateral, so all these values are the same, right? So realistically, if I just can find either that value, which is my hypotenuse, or one of these sides down here, then I can just double that, and that's the length of one side. I also could use tangent, okay, and I can find, let's just say that this is y right there. So I can put myself at this end, this corner right here, and go opposite over adjacent. So I could go tangent of 60 degrees is equal to the opposite side over the adjacent side, right, which is y. And then I'm going to cross multiply. So I'm going to say y times whatever tangent of 60 is. That is equal to 6 times 1, which is 6. So y is equal to 6 divided by tangent of 60 degrees. So y is equal to approximately, and this is going to give me a decimal answer, right? I'm going to go 6 divided by, using my calculator, tangent of 60. So tangent of 60 degrees. And make sure your mode is in, boy, you got to make sure you're in degrees, definitely. I get about 3.5. So this is about 3.5 right here. So this value right here is about 3.5, which means that this side would also be 3.5, right? So that would mean this whole length here would equal 7. That's what that would mean. Now, so x would equal 7. Now, just a note, x being the length of the side. So this is 7, this is 7, all right? So just a note for this, you also could have taken 60 degrees because you know opposite a 60-degree angle is a root 3. So that value right here is equal to a root 3. And so what that does, right, is basically that would take, I'm going to, oops, sorry about that. I'm going to take this and move it somewhere that I get some more space. So 6 is equal to a root 3. I could find a, and then I would go, a is my 30-degree angle, which is this length right here. Opposite the 30 is a. So a is equal to 6 divided by the square root of 3. Well, you're not going to leave a root on the denominator. So you would multiply by root 3 over root 3. And that's going to give you 6 root 3 over 3. Now, 3 will divide into that 6 twice. So this is actually 2 root 3. And so that's what I get for A, and A being across from the 30 degrees. So think about this being 2 root 3. And if this is also 2 root 3, that's 4 root 3 altogether. So if you were to type in 4 root 3 into your calculator, so 4 times the square root of 3, you're going to get about 6.928. And so that's going to actually give you that same value. 6.928, so 6.93 is approximately 7. So that's what they're looking at. For this problem here, this is asking me for right triangle SOT, and they didn't tell me which is which. They just said, we have a right triangle, and I'm just going to call it SOT, although I don't know what order it is. I could draw it again, right triangle, and I can say, here's S, here's O, here's T. They just want to know what's the side opposite angle S. So the side opposite angle S, so here's S. The side opposite that is that side right here. So you would say the length OT. That's it. So then again, the side opposite angle S. So if this was angle S, the side opposite also length OT. So it doesn't matter how you drew your triangle. No matter what, the side opposite is OT. For this problem, it says, what's a true statement about RST? Is it right? Let's check. 10 squared. If that's the case, remember, this would be the highest value. That would be the only side that was opposite the right angle because it's the biggest value. So I would say leg squared plus leg squared is equal to the hypotenuse squared, if that was a hypotenuse. 100 plus 64 does not equal 169. And actually, 164 is greater than 169. So what that means is that if the sum of the two sides is greater than the third side, this triangle actually is an acute triangle. It's definitely not right. And this is something that you're going to see, again, SATs. This is a great question for the SATs, which just basically means that C squared being your hypotenuse, right? This is my 169. If it's less than the sum of the two sides of the squared other sides, the triangle is acute. But if it was greater than the other two sides, it's obtuse. Now, the only way you're going to get this to be a right triangle is if 8 squared plus 10 squared was equal to 13 squared. So this definitely is not a right triangle. The next question says, if tangent of C is equal to this value, then what's the measure of angle C? So what you need to do on your calculator is you need to find C, so you solve for C. So this is what you're seeing. Tangent of C is about 0.7002. If you want to solve for angle C, you need to take this tangent, bring it over to the other side. The act of actually doing that, right, is what we call arc tangent. I'm saying arc tangent. This is what I'm saying. Arc tangent. I'm saying arc tangent, but I'm writing this inverse. That's what that means. So C is equal to arc tangent of 0.7002. So type that in your calculator. So C is approximately, so I'm going to go arc tangent. The arc tangent button is above the tangent button. So you just have to hit second tangent, and you're going to get 0.7002, and I get about 34.999. So I'm going to say about 35 degrees. And so that would be that value. And that's how you figure that out. The next question is saying, given the figure below, we got a tree with the height, we got a base. Let's see here. Measure the angle formed by the sun's rays, which is that angle of elevation right here. It says you got the 68-foot tree. We've got a 14-foot shadow. They want to know, what do they want to know? I don't know what they want. Oh, they want to know what the angle is. Find the angle. So the measure the angle, find, oh, this should say find the measure of the angle. So find the measure of the angle. So finding the measure of the angle, we're going to say that's opposite over adjacent. So we're going to use this formula. Tangent of theta is equal to the opposite side over the adjacent side. Okay. And so remember, we don't have theta. We're looking for theta. Theta is just a symbol for, represents an angle. So we're going to say tangent of theta is equal to, you're here, okay, the opposite side, which is 68, over the adjacent side. The adjacent means next to. And I know it looks like there's two sides that are next to, but see this right angle here? That means that this is my hypotenuse. And tangent does not use the hypotenuse. Sine and cosine do, and that's something we're going to do after the break, but not tangent. So we want to solve for theta. Theta is equal to arc tangent. Remember, you're going to take this tangent, move it to the other side. That's arc tangent of, and you say it like that, arc tangent of 68 divided by 14. This is your work. You're going to show this work on your paper. So we're going to go arc tangent. So second tangent, put in parentheses, 68 divided by 14, close the parentheses, and I get about 78.4. It says round to the nearest tenth, so that's 0.4, so that's going to be about 78.4 degrees. And so that's what theta equals. That's the angle of elevation. It's like your head is horizontal, like on the horizontal, and you lift it up like that. That's your angle of elevation. For this problem, it says a window washer was rappelling off the building 95 feet high, washing windows, when he noticed a delivery truck, of course Amazon, headed toward the building. The angle of depression to the truck is 35 degrees, so that's 35 degrees right there. How far was the delivery truck from the base of the building? X. Round answers to nearest tenth. Okay, so first thing you need to remember is that the angle of depression is actually the same value as the angle of elevation, this value here. So this value is also 35 degrees. The reason for that is because these lines are parallel, because they're both on the horizontal, and these are alternate interior angles. So there's two ways to do this, okay? The first way you can do this is this. Put yourself at the Amazon truck, and you're going to go opposite over adjacent. Same formula. You're going to say tangent of 35 degrees is equal to the opposite side over the adjacent side. Now, I want you to be aware that this being a 90-degree angle here, because it's a building. Yes, it's 90. I know it's not posted. It is 90. And I were to take 90 degrees and I were to subtract 35 degrees. So 90 minus 35, right, is 55 degrees. And what I'm doing is I'm putting this angle right here. The reason for that is this. You can also be the window washer looking this way. And the reason I would do that is because then I would say tangent of 55 degrees is equal to the opposite side, which is x, over the adjacent side, which is 95. Again, I'm not using the hypotenuse. Don't give no values there. And then all I would have to do is cross multiply. I get x equals 95 times tangent of 55. Now, that's going to give me an approximation because I'm multiplying, right? So I'm going to go tangent. I like to do the tangent first. Tangent of 55 equals, I'm going to go times 95. It's 135.67. I'm rounding to the nearest tenth. So about 135.7. Looks like it's feet away. Okay, so just note that I could have done it on this side also. It would have just given me one additional step. So when you're setting up your tangent problems, like the best case scenario is to get the variable on top, because then you just have to multiply. So like if I had done this, x times tangent of 35, that's one quantity, is equal to 95. And then x is equal to 95 divided by that quantity. Don't break that up. That's a quantity. Tangent of 35. I'm going to get about the same answer. I'm going to just prove that to you. 95 divided by parenthesis tangent of 35 using parentheses is 135.67. Again, I'm still going to get the same answer. I just am doing it a different way. And maybe this looks better because it's less steps, but you're both ultimately going to get the same answer. This is saying find the value of x. I'm looking for a side. Now remember, in the other problems, right, the previous problems, when I was looking for an angle, right, if I'm looking for an angle, then that's theta. When I don't have a value for theta, remember that I'm going to use what's called arctangent, right? That's not this problem. This problem, I'm looking for a variable. Though I do notice that these are actually the same side because this is a 45 degree. So that's a 45 degree. So x root 2. So if you remember that formula, right, for a 45, 45, 90, that goes x root 2, right? If it's a 45, 45, 90 right triangle where these are equal, x root 2. We call this a special right triangle. And what that means is that if I have this value here for root 2, right? If I have that value for root 2, what I would do is I would just set this value equal to x root 2. So let's do that. Meaning I'd go 16 is equal to x root 2. So I'm going to divide both sides by root 2. So I get x equals 16 divided by the square root of 2. Don't leave your root on the denominator. You're going to multiply by root 2 over root 2. And I'm going to get x is equal to 16 root 2 over root 2 times root 2 on the bottom is root 4. Square root of 4 is 2. 2 cancels into 16 8 times. So the length of one of my sides is 8 root 2. So this length is 8 root 2. And because it's a 45, 45, 90, this length is also 8 root 2. Now, I know that seems a little bit tricky, especially if you've never done those before. Depending on what class you were in, this may be a new concept. However, another option for you was just to recognize again that this is a 45, 45, 90, and that if this is x, then this is the same value. And I can just simply use Pythagorean Theorem. X squared plus x squared is equal to 16 squared. 2x squared equals 16 squared, 196. And so, 256. What did I just write? I just wrote 14 squared. Sorry about that. 256. 256 divided by 2 is 128. So we have x squared is equal to 128. Now, if I'm square rooting that, right, both sides like this, I know that the square root of 128 is the square root of 64 times 2. Well, the square root of 64 is 8, so that's 8 root 2. And so that's my value of x. Now, if this isn't an option, right, then I can definitely just say, well, what is that value? 8 root 2. So 8 root 2 as a decimal equivalent is about 11.3. So if I wanted that to be a decimal equivalent, I would just say it's about 11.3. For this problem, it's asking you to, you've got a skateboard ramp that's 6 root 3 feet high, so that's your altitude. It makes a 30-degree angle with the ground, and what is the length of the ramp? So you have some options. Number one, if you recall from our special right triangles, that this is across from the 30 is A, across from the 90 is 2A, and across from the 60 is going to be A root 3. In which case, across from the 30 is A, that would make 6 root 3A. And then that would make across from the 90, 2 of that. So 6 times 2 is 12, so that would be 12 root 3. Done. Now, depending on what are we asking? Are we asking for a decimal equivalent? Or are we asking for, what are we asking for? So 12 root 3, by the way, 12 root 3 approximately is 20.8. Okay, so it's about 20.8, all right, feet. But let's just do this with tangent, just for fun. Opposite over adjacent. I'm going to call this, I don't know, I don't want to call it A, actually. Let's call this, that's already X. Let's call this just Y. So across from the 30, so we're going to go tangent of 30 degrees is equal to opposite side, so 6 root 3 over the adjacent side, which is Y, okay? And so I would then cross multiply, and I would say y times tangent of 30 degrees is equal to 6 root 3. And then I would go y is equal to 6 root 3 divided by tangent of 30. Well, tangent of 30 is equal to about 0.5773. So you're going to go 6 root 3. So 6 root 3 get that number divided by tangent of 30. So parenthesis, tangent of 30. And I get 18. So y is approximately 18. So that makes this value down here 18. Okay? And so then, once I have that value, then I'm going to use Pythagorean Theorem and go a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So I would go 6 root 3 quantity squared plus 18 squared is equal to, I don't know, squared. And I'm going to go, well, 18 squared is 324. So we know this is 324 equals x squared. And then 6 root 3 times 6 root 3. 6 times 6 is 36. And then 36 times root 9, which is 3, is equal to 108. So add 108. And then 108 plus 324 is 432. So we have 432 is equal to x squared. Now all you have to do is square root both sides. So if I were doing this just with a decimal equivalent of 432 gives me 20.78, which is what I had here, which we already know that's a decimal equivalent. But if I want the actual exact value, I'm going to start off with 432, and I'm going to divide by 4. And I get, if I do that, I get 4 times 108. Okay, so far, root 4 is 2, so I've got a 2. Now I'm going to take 108, and I'm actually going to try to divide by 4 again, and I'm going to get 27. So this is going to be root 4 times root 27. Now root 4 is 2 again, so now I've got 2 times 2, right, which is 4 so far. And then root 27 is the square root of 9 times the square root of 3. Well, the square root of 9 is 3. So what I have so far is, remember, 2 times 2 times 3, root 3, which is 2 times 2 is 4, times 3 is 12, so I get 12 root 3. So obviously, it's way easier to recognize that this is a special right triangle, but it is not impossible to get this answer. Last one, the Pigeon Point Lighthouse, or second to last one, I guess, in Pescadero, California is 115 feet tall. To the nearest foot, what is D? D is the length of the hypotenuse. So we don't have this. We do know this is a right angle. I need to find the adjacent side. I'm going to call that A for adjacent side. Get that number and then use Pythagorean Theorem. So I'm going to go tangent of 18 is equal to the opposite side over the adjacent side. I'm going to cross multiply. And remember, I could have also used this angle up here, but I didn't choose to. A times tangent of 18 is equal to 115. I'm going to go A is equal to 115 divided by whatever tangent of 18 is. So I'm going to say, well, I'm going to go 115, and I'm going to divide that by parentheses, tangent of 18. And close the parentheses. I get about 354. It says to the nearest foot, so I'm going to round off. So this is about 354. So this length is 354. And now I have to use Pythagorean Theorem, which is 354 squared plus 115 squared is equal to D squared. So 354 squared plus 115 squared, and then get that number, which we have, and answer plus, and I'm going to go the square root of that answer is equal to about 372. So D is approximately 372 feet away. Cool, 372. Cool. All right, and good luck on your exam. Hey, exit ticket number 7, Rocket. Thanks for watching.